And my name is Allison Rains. I'm 16 years old. The date is December 21st, 2014, and we are at the Rosenwald Community Center next to Wilson Field, home of the Hot Sox. I'm sitting with former player Nick.
That's right.
So we're beginning our interview.
Okay.
So first, can you give me some background about yourself? Can you tell me where you grew up, what you did for a living, and how you got involved with the baseball team?
Okay, well, I grew up right here in Galesville, and I started out like most of the guys when we were kids, just going to the Hot Sox games. It was a rich tradition back then, and every Sunday we looked forward to going to the ball field just to watch our dads and our uncles to play the game. And we did other things while they were playing. We were called, some of us, ball runners. In other words, when there were foul balls hit, we were like 8, 9, 10 years old, we would chase the foul balls and bring them back, and we get $1 for each ball after the end of the game. And some of us worked in the kitchen, with a little concession stand they had there, and served food and stuff like that. So it's so much I could tell you about, how I got involved. But it was like a family traditional thing to be involved with the Hot Sox some kind of way. So that's how it happened. So as I continued to grow and get older, I played baseball my whole life, little league, pony league on up. And then I played high school ball. And I was a 3-letter man. I played football, basketball, and baseball. Baseball was just a sport that I enjoyed playing because of the tradition. Basketball was my number one sport.
Okay.
So when I played baseball, I was not a starter pitcher, but a relief pitcher.
Okay.
John Makel, who was one of the founding guys and big guys with the Hot Sox, he was a high school teacher back then in high school. He coached at Northeast High School, and I played for Southern High School. So we were there playing a game, and I was pitching, and he asked me to come out and join the Hot Sox. So that's how I joined the Hot Sox back in 1969. And so I came out and I joined the Hot Sox, and it was just a great moment for me just to have on a Galesville Hot Sox uniform. It meant the world to me. And I have to be honest with you, I had no idea about the Negro League. We were just Hot Sox.
Yeah.
You had the Drew Giants. You had other teams. There were no just a Negro League. We just ball teams that played every Sunday. So I remember reading back in 2000, 2001, and they did an article in the paper, the Washington Post, about the Negro League. And there was a paragraph and it said some teams still exist today. And I seen Galesville Hot Sox. So, whoa, I played on the Hot Sox, the Negro League, So that was a big moment for me, even though I only played 1 year. But once I realized the rich tradition and how it has carried over to today, I'm proud to say that I was a member of the Galesville Hot Sox. I really am.
So walk me through a typical baseball game at Wilson Field. Give me some insight about the people who came, the foods that were cooked, and the excitement of the game.
Oh, okay. How can I start that? Wow. Well, I think that, let's start with my father. My father played in the outfield for the Hot Sox. His name was Eugene Johnson. They called him Specs. He was an Air Force cook, so he was also one of the cooks for the Galesville Hot Sox. So every Saturday evening or Sunday morning, I got up with my father and watched him prepare the fried chicken and the potato salad and stuff of that nature. And I'm a cook today at a country club. And I learned a lot of my skills from my father. But anyway, when you went to the game, it actually started the day before. Because, you're going to a ball game. So when you enter the ball field, you see all of these cars, and you see people, family members from Shadyside and Churchton, all around the little small communities, Edgewater. They all would come down to Galesville to watch the game. But it was an atmosphere of friendship, just meeting up and catching up on old times and things of that nature. It gave the kids a chance just to run around and be free. You did not have to worry about what's going on today, the violence and stuff like that. That did not exist back then. All the kids were safe, and it was just a wonderful moment. And it's just so many stories I could tell you, because after the game, we had a little pathway. I don't know if anyone told you yet.
Yes.
Yes, we had a little pathway. We used to embark back here, and we had what's called a fish fry here. And the men's or the women clubs, they would have fish fry dinners. Oh man, for $1.50 you could get the biggest piece of fish and potato salad and a cold beer. So again, the atmosphere would transcend from there back here. You know, it was the same people, and it was just a community activity that just went on every Sunday, and so many of us loved it, you know, and I could just go on. Just great people, great moments I would cherish for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned the pathway that you guys would come back for the fish fry, and they're actually rebuilding it and reconstructing it. And they've also, the county has also rebought the land, that way it won't be sold off for an elderly home, and instead they're preserving the memories of the baseball players. So what does that mean to you that they're making an effort to save it?
Wow, that means so much to me for so many reasons, because, you know, I left this area for a moment, you know, and I came back. And when I came back, I noticed that the Galesville Hot Sox was no longer in existence. The name was. But the guys of Galesville, the new generation, weren't playing baseball, because everybody know now they play basketball. Most black kids play basketball, you know. And so I'm like, what happened? This was our field. Now we got strangers coming into our field, saying they're the home team. No, we are the home team, you know. And so that bothered me a whole lot. I have to be honest, it bothered me. But then I was talking to another old guy, we both were saying and talking. He said to me, "Where are the kids?" And I thought about that. And I walked back and forth through Galesville. No kids. No boys. You know, there are a few. But most of the generational families have left. They have grown, got married, you know, and branched out, and they're gone. So we don't have a lot of young guys to carry on that tradition anymore. So you telling me this morning that, or this afternoon, that they're going to build a pathway. We were kids and didn't have money to get into the ball field. So we used to sneak through this pathway just to go in and watch the game. So you telling me that they're going to build a pathway through these woods, it's awesome. It is awesome. I don't know if anyone told you about that. But, you know, and I think that they knew. I think that the older people knew, because we were good kids. We just wanted to get in to watch the game, you know. So we just traveled through the woods, watching out for snakes and critters, you know, trying to get to the game, you know. And that's what we did. So I'm glad to hear that they're building a pathway through there, you know, and I'm going to be one of the first, I must say, that's going to take that walk, and I'm just going to try to reminisce. See if I can still remember any of the old trees and stuff like that, you know. And it's just so much, so much history down through there, so much. Yes.
So, you mentioned your father.
Yes.
Tell me about him and the role that he played in your baseball career.
My father was a quiet man. He was not a talker, he was a doer. Now, I'm the oldest of 6 siblings, and the oldest boy, of course. So my father was a hard-working man, worked 2 jobs his entire life, and I got my work skill from just watching him, you know, and his work ethics was something that I'm proud to say that I'm glad to just have been around him, to learn so much about holding down a job, you know, and I thank God for him each and every day that I had him in my life when I did. And the other things that he did, you know, I was 14 years old, and you guys are so young, you probably don't understand any of this, but I was 14 years old, and they had a basketball league at some high school for young people. And this lady, her name is Miss B.B. Castro from Shadyside, who later on became the Anne Arundel County Recreation and Park Supervisor. Well, we was talking one day, and she says, well, if you can get someone to drive you to and from the high school, that she would sponsor us. Well, we didn't know anybody. So I went to my dad. I said, Dad, this lady said that she would sponsor us, she would pay for us to join the basketball league. And my dad, being the dad he was, did not utter not one word. I had told him what time the game was on Saturday and all that. And that Saturday morning, he hit my bed with his foot, boom, boom, boom. Get those boys together. And so that started my transition into playing organized sports. Going down to Southern High School at an early age, playing basketball, not knowing what I was doing, but just out there playing basketball. And it was things like that. You know, I'm also a musician, I play saxophone. And one time, we were talking about my dad here now, I had a silver old sax, because that's the only sax my dad can afford. I took it upon myself one day in Annapolis to stop into a music store. Like I had money. At this time, I'm only like 16. And I go in and I say, yeah, I want to look at a brand new saxophone. So they take me downstairs in the elevator, and I see this beautiful gold saxophone shining. You know, I'm like, oh my God, this is the one. Not knowing I had picked out one of the most expensive saxophones you can buy. So I come home and I tell Dad, I said, Dad, I need a new sax. And I seen one I like it cost $500 some bucks, blah, 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 blah. Once again, Dad not saying anything. Traditionally speaking, again, that word tradition you will hear a lot from me anyway, because on Saturdays, we would all get into the station wagon that my dad had and go to Annapolis from here, to Annapolis to shop, do our laundry and stuff like that, because we didn't have washing machines and dryers back then. So the first place he stopped was at the music store. And my mom says, I know you're not going in there and buying that boy no saxophone. And my dad came out with that saxophone for me. That's the kind of man that he was. And I try to carry on those traditions with my grandkids, my kids, you know, and any other young person I can help along the way. I get that from him. Great man, love him to death.
Wow, that's a great story. So how has the world changed between then and now? And based on that, what advice can you give to students like us?
That's a good question. Well, the world has changed tremendously, good and bad, I would say. The good thing is that we still have good people like yourselves. You know, I recognize it. I'm sure a lot of other old people do also. But because of the way that social media and the media in general is sensationalizing violence and the negativity that's going on in the world, it supersedes the good young people. You know, so if I would have any advice for the young people today, it would be this. You know your upbringing. You know what your parents have taught you. Those are your values. Those are the key things that's going to keep you rooted in your upbringing. You're going to be faced with challenges. You're going to have some pitfalls. That's life. But all you have to do is always remember Mom and Dad. Because remember, in the very beginning, they always and still do have your best interest at heart. Remember that.
And then before we end the interview, is there anything else that you would like to add or discuss?
Just in closing, I would just like to say I'm proud that this moment has came, just to give me an opportunity to express myself like this. You know, it's just a great moment for me, and I will cherish this interview for the rest of my life.
Thank you. We really appreciate you coming out.